Hi, my name is Girish, your host for today. Back to basics. We have Pat Alva-Kraker, and she will be discussing with us regarding her journey, really. And her journey is just really fabulous. Let's go and follow that journey in this show today, and let's get some insights as why I brought her into this show, and it'll be so inspiring for many different viewers and many different listeners also. So, Pat, how are you today? And thank you for coming on this show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on your show. I've been following you, and it's I'm so excited at the impact that you want to have with people and just getting back to basics. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, Garish,
So,
thank you.
Pat, so before I get to all the journey questions and all the book questions and all the stuff that we have, what is what is back to basics for Pat, for business and for personal both?
hmm For me, back to basics is I would say three things come to mind when you ask me that question. One is knowing what's important. Because when you know what's important, then you don't get distracted with anything from the outside. You're very clear and pure about what is important, and you make your decisions from that space.
Yeah.
Back to basics also means keeping life simple.
Hmm. I think
Keeping
that's
life
the reason
simple.
why we have this show, just to make it simple. Why do we
Yeah,
have to make it so complicated?
exactly.
Um, like a simple thing. Yes, let's give me an example. You buy a lotto. Yes, you get money at the end of the day, but the basic is that you want to feed the family around you. That's your basics. The reason why you want to win.
Mhm.
So why did you start this journey? And let me start from scratch here. So where did you come from? Where you didn't just wake up and just become a coach, right? So let's explain that to people, who you are
Mhm.
and your journey a little.
Yes. Okay. So I'm a Texan. I'm originally from El Paso, and I now live in the Fort Worth area.
Hmm.
And my journey that got me to this book was really started when I joined corporate America. I began my career in IT with IBM, and at the time there were very few women in the industry. So I worked in engineering and in IT for 35 years, and both of these industries are male dominated. So what I found is that I was looking for women like myself in higher management and found very few role models or mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and decided that I really wanted to make a difference in moving women forward. So as I began to learn about my different colleagues in the city that I worked in other states, I started having conversations with them, and I would talk to them about their career. And I said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up?"
Mm-hmm.
And when I found women that were really ambitious and interested and had the drive, I would say, "I would love to mentor you.
Mm. So
Let me
when
help you get to where you want to be."
so Pat,
And
it's not that you just woke up in the morning and you said you want to help people. I'm pretty sure there had to be some trigger that had happened, right?
right. So yeah, as the oldest of five, I was always taking care of my family, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking care of my siblings. So I've always been in that helping and supportive role all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that pretty much transferred into corporate America. But you're right. When I went into corporate and I found myself trying to fit in order to play in this male dominated world, and found that women just weren't moving up, I just said, I have got to help women move up in the company. If that's what they want, I want to help them move up, because it's important that there be, a good balance of male energy and female energy in a corporation.
Sure.
And I found that I had that gift of mentoring and coaching. It was just a gift that
Mm.
I started to use and really was able to make an impact on women. And over time, as women started talking about their careers, and they had had situations, wanted to get promoted, wanted help on moving a project or something, my name would come up often and say, well, you need to go talk to Pat. And over time, I became like the go-to mentor
Hmm.
in both IBM and Lockheed Martin, and really started mentoring and coaching women and helping them advance.
So Pat, is it because you are easy to talk to, or you have an answer for their concerns?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that I get told very often is that I'm a good listener.
Mm, it's a
And
good
as a
listener.
coach, you have to be a good listener. You have to be able to sit back and not only listen, but also listen for what is not being said.
Yeah, it is. It is. Um, how do I say it in a different way? It's kind of a gift for you to listen and give advice at the same time.
Mhm.
It's more of a uh, maybe you went through this before, and that's why you're giving, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So Pat, let me ask you this. So I was reading your bio a little. You went through um, a lot of ups and downs in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. Giving up was one of the big issues that you had. Do you want to talk about that, the giving up part, and how you said, you know what, forget the giving up part. Let's saddle up and let's go.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, I would say that I had three significant emotional events in my life that really um, were moved me forward in my life,
Hmm.
made me learn a lot about myself, and a lot of the lessons that it took to come out on the other side, a stronger and wiser woman, are actually in the book. And so, what are those three? Well, I'm a breast cancer survivor of 26 years, and that in itself is, hearing that you have cancer, and hearing that I had cancer was like, wow, it was such a shock. And I I'm such a curious person that I had to understand the why, the emotional and spiritual aspect of breast cancer.
Mm,
And what I learned, Garish, is that breast cancer is very much associated with overgiving.
mm,
And I was that. I was definitely overgiving to my family, to the community, to the company. I was traveling 80% of the time. It was a lot of overgiving, and I was the last on my list.
hmm.
So there was very little self-care in my life at that time. And it was an opportunity for me to pause and pivot.
Yeah, but Pat, but when people they hear that you or someone has cancer,
Mhm.
right? The first thing comes in mind is, okay, I think I'm going to give up and go, or not fight. But that was not the case for you, right?
No, that was not the case for me. It was really when my husband and I were leaving the hospital and we were on our way home, which was an hour drive. During that hour, I just thought about this whole situation that had been presented. And I said, you know what? I'm going to heal myself.
Yeah.
I'm just going to heal myself. I went through the traditional um, form of healing, which was chemo and radiation. And I decided to take responsibility for myself and start embracing alternative medicine.
Mm,
So I went into energy medicine. I became a Reiki practitioner.
mm,
I learned about the use of herbs and foods to heal and
mm-hmm.
essential oils. And I pretty much said, I am going to heal from the situation, and I'm going to take control and do what I need to do in order to come out on the other side shining and being a stronger and wiser woman.
So basically, you just went down to basics and say, you know what, I'm going to take care of myself.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if the chemo comes in the way and makes me feel bad, but at the end of the day, you went just down to the basic moment and said, you know what, I'm going to fight this.
Hmm.
And I'm happy for that, and I'm glad that you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this show today. So thank you for that. So what was your second wave or
Yeah, my
downhill?
second
Yeah.
challenge was being laid off.
Yeah.
Being laid off. So I was laid off by IBM, and I hired on to IBM during an era where when you went to work for a company, you would be with that company until you retired.
That's right.
It was that you joined in. I joined IBM. I expected to be with IBM until I retired. And when I was laid off, I was in shock. I couldn't see beyond uh, IBM and know that there was another possibility.
Yeah.
And I really had to sit back and say, okay, there's a lesson here. There's a lesson here. It's time for me to pivot. There's source wants me to be doing something else somewhere else.
Mm.
And I immediately started looking for other opportunities, and I found another job within 2 weeks. And sometimes when we have this mindset that when we join this company, we're going to be with this company, and there's a change, we feel like there is no other better opportunity.
That's right.
Like there is no other better opportunity than what I had before, and I learned that there is something better.
Yeah.
There is a better life. There is a better opportunity, and it's the way that we choose to look at what happens to us.
So, Pat, I've been in the industry and IT industry for a long time, and I have been laid off several times in different situations. Company's been bought out,
Yep.
Organization has been reorged and all that stuff, right? So, but the sentence that I don't like, and yes, it's true also at the same time, is one door closes and the other opens.
Yes.
Personally, I don't like that statement, even
Mhm.
though that it's true. Was that same for you also?
I believe that. I believe that when an opportunity closes,
Yeah.
or it's almost like, okay, this particular chapter of my life has come to an end.
Yeah.
And I believe that in my journey, I am asked to step into a different role
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
something different and have an impact in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's how I chose to look at it. And it turned out to be a really good opportunity for me. I stopped my traveling. I got my life back.
Yeah.
And when you travel 80%, you don't have time for anything else or anyone else, or it's just all you do is work and come and rest
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
can. And to now go into a career where I didn't travel at all, I was like, oh, it was like a breath of fresh air. And I thought, how could I not think that this could be something better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is true. It's more
I truly
positives.
believe it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For
But
me,
I
it
mean, I mean, yeah, the sentence is quite deceiving, but at the time when you get laid off, I mean,
oh my God, it was
but the
devastating.
thing is, if you really look at the basics of that sentence, it is kind of true. You
Yes.
have to wait till the other opens. So, and the third part of your journey,
And my
which,
third part of my journey, yes, was my husband died at a very early age. And at the time, my husband and I, we had a 200-acre exotic animal ranch.
hmm
And it was my husband and I and one ranch hand that my husband and Randy would work the whole ranch together. They could do it, even though Randy was in a wheelchair. They made that work because that was Don's whole business. He dedicated himself to the ranch. So when he passed, I found myself now running a 200-acre ranch with Randy in a wheelchair and working full time and working a coaching practice. And that was one of those moments where you're either going to crawl up in bed and die, or you're going to pick yourself up with the bootstraps and you're going to move forward.
hmm,
And that's what I chose to do. I said, I have no choice but to pick myself up
yeah,
with the bootstraps and start making decisions on how I'm going to spend my time and how I'm going to take care of my animals. And it all worked well until we had bad weather.
hmm,
So, Garish, when we had bad weather, when Randy was in his wheelchair, well, he couldn't get out. If
hmm,
it rained, it snowed, or there was ice, there was no way that he could help.
hmm, hmm.
So I would have to take a day off and take care of all the animals in order
So,
to keep moving.
so listeners, I mean, you get ups and downs in your life. I mean, you heard three parts of Pat's story. You got a giving up, situation. You have a layoff situation, and then you have a grieving situation. And these three bulldozers that Pat went through, it's crazy. And I hats off to you of you dealing with this, and now you are kind of reinventing yourself
Yes.
to a new person, a beautiful person that you are, that you came on my show and accepting my offer on this, and I thank you for that. Now, what is what is Pat for the next 5 years? Let's talk about that.
The book has been, I took all the lessons from these three situations
Yeah,
and put together the book.
yeah.
And what I've come to realize is how much of a foundation my book has been to my business.
Mm,
And I see myself on my business just really expanding myself to an international focus
mm,
and using the book as a foundation to my retreats for self-care, my business retreats, um, my group coaching programs,
mm-hmm,
because it is the practices here work, and they work for women, and they transform women. And I'm told over and over again from my readers that they are a different person from having gone through the book and done the exercises,
mm-hmm,
that it is now a major focus.
mm.
And from here, I find myself teaching different principles from my course, and speaking, I mean, from my book, and also speaking from my book. And it's really bringing out the word to a larger group of women, and international is going to be a large part of that. I'm bilingual,
Mm,
so the first idea here is to start working the book in Spanish and translate it,
mm.
and start doing my teachings in Spanish and helping women entrepreneurs in um, Latin America.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, Pat, one question is, so the name of the book, guys, first of all, before we get into the details, is Katherine's Quest: One Woman's Journey to what is it?
Elation. When
Elation.
one woman's journey to elation.
Elation. Okay. So, so Pat, let me ask you this: Who's Katherine? Is that you, or is that someone else?
Well, there's part of me in Katherine, that's for sure.
Okay.
She suffered three significant losses,
Mm-hmm.
which is similar to my life, three
Yeah.
significant losses.
Mm,
And she finds herself having to start brand new. She has to pick herself on the bootstraps.
mm,
And initially she's just really helpless, and doesn't know doesn't know what her first step is.
yeah. Yeah.
And in the process, she finds this journal that belonged to her favorite uncle, Iman.
Mm, mm,
And he was on a journey to elation. He
mm,
wanted to be happy. He wanted to be beyond happiness, which is what elation is.
mm,
And he visits 7 islands, and each island amplifies certain values of life, certain principles of life.
mm.
That in the process, he finds himself, and he learns what it is to be happy and live a satisfied life.
So you wrote your whole life into this book, and it's just beautiful how you portrayed that book in there. It's amazing. Um where do we get this book from? I think we get it from some Amazons or something,
Yeah,
or
you
do
can
we?
get it from Amazon.
Uh huh.
You can also go to my website,
Mm-hmm.
majesticcoachinggroup.com, and I have that book. And with the book, I've also accompanied that book with a journal.
Mm.
And I've also made my own affirmation cards that go with it.
Oh,
And you can
nice.
only get the complete book bundle when you go to my website,
Mm.
majesticcoachinggroup.com.
Oh, nice, nice. So, Pat, thank you so much. It's really insight, and it's just so beautiful how your journey just went through. It makes me feel that I'm not doing anything wrong in my life either. We just have to sit down, take a deep breath, and go one by one as where we fail or where we give up or grieving. I mean, there has been some few ups and downs in my life, and it took me a while to saddle up, as we say. But you know what? That doesn't really give you give up, right? I mean,
Right, right. One of the things that I talk about in the book is that we are all on a sacred path. We all have a
Yes.
sacred journey, and there are
Yes.
certain lessons that we are meant to learn, and
Mm.
they're going to show up in different ways. They're going
Yes.
to show up in the peaks, and they're going to show up in the valleys, and embrace that.
Yeah.
Embrace the path and realize that there's a lesson in there. There's a golden nugget that's important that you realize what that is,
Mm.
and to realize that we are exactly where we need to be.
Mm. It's just amazing. Thank you so much, Pat. And any last words before we leave you today with this whole the small journey that we went through, Catherine's path, or 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 yours, or even Catherine's,
Right.
or so.
Yeah, the path with the with my last words or recommendations or insight would be is to just know that you have within you the capacity to get through anything that happens in life. You
Mm.
have it in you. You have that capacity.
Yeah.
And just be fully present and trust yourself that you have the answer.
Yeah.
And then just move forward.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much, Pat, for coming.
Thank you, Girish.
Guys, before we end the call today, we have a, as usual, we have a quote of the day, and the quote of the day is, "It is never too late to be who you might have been." That's by George Eliot.
I
Just
love
keep
that.
in mind that there's just never too late. There are so many ups and downs in Pat's life, in my life, in your life. We don't want to give up. We have to sit down, go back to the basics, and move forward, and you will find the answer eventually. And when you do find that answer, I'm pretty sure you will be happy.
Yeah.
So at the end of the episode, I always say everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. And I will see you next week. But thank you again. Keep on commenting, good or bad. It will make my show stronger, and I will keep on improving and give more guests and more inspiring stories that we will provide you. Thank you again, guys, and take care. See you next week. God bless. Next week's episode on Back to Basics. When you did this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I started my career in technology about 12 years ago, I, at the time, as you can imagine, I mean, tech is still always very straight white male dominated as an environment.
Yeah.
So anybody who's not a straight white male is kind of the odd one out, and you're quickly outnumbered. And so to make your voice matter, if you're not a straight white male, you just have to double down on everything, because